are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and it's time for the cross flags because it's week 13. That means we're officially at the halfway point for the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. YesterYear, where past meets present. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, John Hine. We're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of BGN bringing us all these sights and sounds. The one and only Brian Seneca. 2 weeks ago, the OBRL rolled into the Kansas Speedway where it had drivers slipping and sliding, desperately searching for grip. Around two-thirds into the race, drivers had found their rhythm, finishing the event with a 50-lap green flag run in one of the closest finishes we've had this season. 2 laps ago, Dwayne MacArthur found himself door-to-door with defending champion Josh Robinson nipping at his inside. Somehow, Dwayne saved enough to hold off the final push from the champ and now finds himself tied atop the point standings at 3 wins with Andrew Kotzke. 7 drivers have punched their ticket to the OBRL YesterYear playoffs so far this season, and I've got a feeling tonight we might be adding number 8 under the lights as we roll into the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Located in Concord, North Carolina, the Charlotte Motor Speedway is home to one of the NASCAR's most prestigious races, the Coke 600. NASCAR's longest race of the season, as they'll do 400 laps for a total of 600 miles. This pushes the drivers not only physically, but mentally as well. Being smart with the tires is a big part of that battle, but as we've seen this year, you need to know when to fight, when to let that other guy go. John, we're not going 600 miles tonight, but the drivers are going to have their hands full as we're going 240 miles around Charlotte. If you could mic up and give the guys who haven't won a race yet this season some words of wisdom here before they take the green flag, what would you tell them? How do they punch their ticket into the playoffs?
They need to hurry up and be patient. They need to kind of stand on a little bit, but you know what? Make sure that you are making good decisions behind the wheel. Make sure that the risk and the rewards kind of match up. Don't take any, high risk moves, but definitely the sense of urgency now is going to start to ramp up for those that haven't punched their ticket already. And tonight, it's going to start the second half of the season. We've got a longer race tonight. Things to remember is, okay, it's longer, but guess what? The incident level is still at 9 incidents before you are DQ'd. So you know what? You're going to have to take care of your stuff. You do get 5 sets of tires, which is a lot more than what we normally see here in one of these races. So I think tonight's going to be a lot of fun because you know what? This other thing here about this little track is you can run all over this thing. You can go right up against the fence. You can go right down on the yellow, or I guess here it's a white line, double white line down on the bottom. And you know what? You're going to have lots of opportunities to make your way around guys. So, buckle up here. This should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and, speaking of opportunities, we do still have a big field, but we're only in the 20s tonight. I believe 27, maybe 29 drivers here. We're normally close to that 43 number. It is Memorial Day weekend here, so definitely busy. But let's take a look at that points because you mentioned, opportunities. This is a chance to maybe jump up that point standings a little bit. Right now, Dwayne MacArthur and Andrew Kotzke, as you heard in the intro, they're tied at the top with 3 wins apiece. Andrew 20 points out, though, losing that tiebreaker at the moment. Tom Ogle all by himself there in the top 3. And then you got Josh Robinson, Courtney Nelson, Dan Hill, and Mark Fish. Remember Mark? It's been a while since we've heard about him, John. He won the 500, but he's got himself stamped in. Who else do you maybe, I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but since we're taking a look at it, those guys in white. Now, I know I've got one in mind. You can steal him if you want. You probably know who I'm going to take, but who's that guy who you think maybe could be next to punch themselves into the playoffs?
Well, some guys have been running really good. I mean, Jerry Isaacs comes to mind. He's right up there. He always seems to be around, and in circumstances hasn't always played into his favor here, whether it be in his control or out of his control. Same thing with Sean Foltz. I've seen him up there a lot. We've seen Lloyd Moore get up and challenge at times here. So there's some guys that I think back there that definitely have some pace that, like I said, they just need to hurry up and be patient. They've got pace to punch their ticket. They just need to make sure they're at the end of one of these things to have the opportunity to do so.
And it looks like we're going to get the opportunity to take a look at the starting grid, as I think qualifying came to a close, and we're going to bring that up for you here as soon as we can. There we go. Oh, looky who on the pole. Front row to the inside, starting on the pole, Courtney Nelson, to the outside, defending champion Josh Robinson.
And the second row is going to be Dwayne MacArthur. Next to him will be Scott Negus.
Daryl Weininger to the inside of row 3, to the outside, Lloyd Moore.
Starting 7th, and we've seen him awful strong here at these 1.5 miles. It's going to be the number 11 of Tom Ogle, and to his outside will be the 92 of James Hislop.
Brian Lynch to the inside of row 5, to the outside, Andy Thomas.
Brian Lindsay will roll off 11th. Next to him will be Matt Watkins.
Tommy Embassy to the inside of row 7 on the top shelf, Sean Foltz.
Nicholas Self and Fred Wolfert will occupy row number 8.
Colin Wanamaker to the inside of row 9, to the outside, the boss man, Victor Lane.
And the row that will round out the top 20, 19th will be Luke Lane, and to his outside will be Lonnie Corey.
Andrew Medlin to the inside of Chris Bates, their row 11.
Starting 23rd will be Bill Martin, and next to him, John Hastings.
Prisco, Robert Guarisco to the inside of row 13, to the outside, Daytona 500 winner, Mark Fish.
Starting 27th is Larry Corey, and one of those guys that I said needs to hurry up and go. He's going to be rolling off 28th. That'll be the number 51 of Jerry Isaacs.
You know what's really funny about that? Well, nobody even probably caught on to it, but I'll out myself. I said there was either 27 or 29 drivers there in the intro, and it lands right in the middle of 28. Didn't even get that on the head, but I was pretty good spread.
Yeah, and you know what? There's 28 cars is just fine here. I know it's a little bit lower than what we normally see, but guess what? There's a lot of guys that have a lot of things online here. You know, that postseason definitely looms large now, being in the second half. But, you know, Zach, before they take the green flag here, and we are Memorial Day weekend, we should give a shout out to all the men and women and families that have given the ultimate sacrifice, and say thank you to all of those that have served, all of those that have loved ones that have given the ultimate price for our freedom that we have here today.
Yeah, most definitely, John. See, that's why we need you. You're here for the important stuff, because I just focus on the racing, but you're focusing on the bigger picture, what's important, because man, without those guys, we don't get to do this. So huge shout out there, John. I appreciate you for doing that, because you, to be truthful, I was sleeping on that, so much needed.
That's all right. To be truth be told, if I was sitting in one of those race cars, I probably wouldn't be thinking about that either. I'd be trying to figure out how I can win this race. So it's all perspective, my friend. But you know what? This is going to be a fun race here. We do have some guys that are going to the end of the line here. We should probably cover that real quick here. EOLs tonight. Larry Corey, Robert Crisco, Chris Bates, Jerry Isaacs, and Andrew Medlin will all go to the rear, as well as Luke Lane, it looks like. So quite a few cars going to be starting there. So as we get the green flag, we're ready to go.
Yeah, good start there for defending champion Josh Robinson, able to stay even on the outside. Dwayne MacArthur trying to push Courtney Nelson on through there on the inside. Courtney going to hold it off for now. Dwayne going to battle for second, and Scott Negus there falling in line at fifth. John, we haven't seen him put up a qualifying effort like that so far this season. Scott Negus, one of those guys who's deep in the points, somewhere in the 20s, and man, he could use a win here tonight.
Yeah, he certainly could, and I can tell you, you know, you talk about momentum, you know, if you win a race, you know, or have a good run, how it translates to the next one. But you know what? When you put a good qualifying time up on the board, you feel like you got a good car, and you got confidence for the rest of the night anyway. That's a big boost to Scott there, starting that far up front.
A battle on there for second, but back there in the blackjack spot, Robert Guarisco already up 4 spots. John Crisco on the move. We've seen him have some pace here early in the season, and he's one of those guys that you and I were talking before the race started, using the high line. I love it here.
Yeah, I went out and kind of ghosted around and took some laps in one of these cars, and man, I tell you, being up against the boards was a whole lot of fun there. And you know what? I could make time around there. So watch. I said it up front here. You know what? You're going to have options. Run them in the top, run them on the bottom, and guess what, Zach? You can run them right through the middle if you need to.
Yeah, Daryl Weininger, I think he's listening to you. Oh, he took a peek there, but Dwayne MacArthur kind of shut the door off before. And now Nega's taking a peek after Weininger checks out of the throttle. But man, he was showing some pace there in the middle. And Weininger blinks out a little bit, comes back, blinks away again. Man, iRacing, they'll be a little forgiving on that, John, but you do that too many times, they'll give you the boot now.
Yeah, and he was out for quite a while down that backstretch there. And we do live in a virtual world, and sometimes there's connection issues here. And I'm looking here, and it does not look like it's registering any issues for him right now. So hopefully he can get that worked out.
Yeah, and he does the good thing. You got to respect that. He knew something wasn't the best, so he goes right up against that wall that whole time. It's smart thinking there for Daryl. Not going to win it here on lap 5, but you sure as heck can lose it. So you got to keep it clean. Doing a good job of letting it come to him. Now Courtney Nelson setting the pace here, but man, I'm shaking in my boots if I have the defending champion behind me just pacing.
Yeah, and this is one of those races that Robinson is definitely, this is probably goes right into his wheelhouse. He can be patient, got a lot of time, a track that you can run all over, because this is a guy that can pretty much make his car, we've seen it over and over this year, run in anywhere on racetracks, and he seems to always get the most out of his car.
Oh man, I couldn't tell who that was. I believe it was Andy Thomas. I believe he's on the high side. Man, he brushed the wall coming off before. Not gonna hurt the car bad, but yeah, John, if you're pushing up the racetrack, coming out of the corners on lap 7, oh, you are in for it. It is going to be a long run.
Yeah, you do not want to start abusing these tires, because this is a track, and these guys notorious for long green flag runs here. And to start this race, last thing you want to do is have a long green flag run, and maybe you even get some green flag pit stops. If they run it out that far, you do not want to be hanging on towards the end of the run.
Yeah, speaking of, I should have done better homework here. I did a lot of truck racing this week. They could go 51 laps on a tank of fuel, so I assume something similar somewhere in that ballpark. So, John, I think we're looking at minimum here a 2-stop race. I don't think we could go on 1 stop here.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the good thing is too, they got 5 sets of tires too, so you know what, they can really they don't have to really worry about tires and when to take them, when not to take them, other than maybe trying to gain track position. But I would expect maybe 2 stops here tonight, not just 1 but 2. Just because of the tires. I think you're going to be able to go further with your tank of gas than your tires will allow. So that's something we might have to watch play out here.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, John, just to throw a little wrench in your plans. Now, I don't think we could make up enough on tire wear, but is there anybody maybe in the field thinking tonight we do 3 stops? We do 40 laps, then we pit on lap 80, then we pit on lap 20. Do you think that's maybe a thought for anyone?
It sure can be, because new set of tires, you're going to make up a second and a half a lap. So we've seen strategies. That's what's been so fun about watching these guys. We've seen people short pit, long pit, pit on time. We've seen all kinds of things thrown up at the board. And the thing is, I think we've seen each one of those strategies at different times pay off. So that's why we're going to watch, and I can't wait to see how this race turns out.
It's definitely good, and these guys have not turned the knob down. I mean, they are still side by side. It starts there with the battle for third and pretty much continues. A couple breaks in between, but they're doing a good job of just racing each other appropriately, John. Maybe within the last 50 laps we'll see those gaps kind of close through. Oh, look at it, defending champion to the outside. Not much of a battle for the lead there, John. Oh, never mind. Cat got my tongue. Back to the inside.
Yeah, and the thing is on the bottom, when you come out of 4, you really want that car to drift up to the wall, but unfortunately for Courtney there, you got Josh on the outside. He's unable to do it, which really kind of hurts the momentum a little bit. But look at Josh. Gets right up on the boards there and runs that top. Oh, that's like running a cushion. And I'm a dirt guy, Zach. I like to see guys running that high side.
Yeah, and John, I mentioned, running trucks this week, and it seemed like if I'm Courtney Nelson right now, as he's got another car to his outside, that's Lloyd Moore, excuse me. You didn't want to do it because you didn't want to cost the tires, but if you wanted to hold off on the bottom, there was no such thing. You needed to drive that thing in deep and almost throw a dirt slide job, kind of park it in front of that guy, because as you mentioned, I think here more than ever, floating up to that wall and keeping your momentum is absolutely everything.
Yeah, it is, and that's the big secret here at Charlotte, and that's why I'm really not that good here. It seems like the most important part of the track here is the center of the corners. How well you get through the center of the corners here really sets you up for corner exit. It gets you a lot of momentum going down these straightaways here, and that's where you can make passes, So, yeah, that center of the corner, though, is where these guys are going to, I want to say make their money tonight, but definitely they're going to, any advantage that they may get, that's where it's going to come from.
And Brian Lindsay, that 24 machine on the outside battling for fifth. He's shot out of the cannon, but battle back on for the lead. Robinson trying to do some work on the inside, but Lloyd Moore here, he's going to win the battle on the outside. Josh only held the lead there for 2 laps or so. Lloyd, he wanted it, John.
Yeah, and don't look now, that Bass Pro machine there, MacArthur is sitting there kind of debating on where he wants to go and make it a 3-car dance up the top here. But I tell you, Moore stays up on the top, and that's, having now watched 2 passes for the lead, if I'm out there running 3rd, 4th, or even 2nd, I'm moving to the high side, and I might go ahead and just run that line here, because it does look to be a little quicker.
We've talked about it before, but especially this week with MacArthur coming in on the top of the point sheet. Big win last week. Momentum's everything in racing, John. Does he get more aggressive right now, or, is he just sitting there happy and just going to contain himself? Or, does winning last week maybe make him want to push a little harder and go get it right now?
No, I think being patient. Everybody knows this is a longer race here, and and to kind of clarify what I said a little bit before, I think you can make better time on the bottom, but at the top, I think that momentum, they might be able to get a run through you in the center of the corner, but coming off these corners, there you see MacArthur. He's just going right around the top of Josh. Like I said, I think I would stay up there and kind of let the chips fall where they may. And the other thing about running up top, guess what? You're using those tires a little bit less.
Yeah, especially when you see those guys up top, not really, making up time on corner entry, because as you know, John, you're driving the corner too deep, you're cranking in that wheel, you're scrubbing it up real hard. But the big thing you've mentioned, now we're seeing that 24, I mentioned a little bit ago, now up to 3rd. Brian Lindsay, one of those guys rolling the top. It's all about that speed in the center of the corner.
Ogle is following them through there, and Robinson, who was just in the lead a couple laps ago, is now back to 4th, and Courtney Nelson all the way back to 7th there, hugging that bottom line. Like I said, I'm surprised. It's a monkey see, monkey do kind of world on a racetrack, and I can't believe more people aren't migrating up there to run that top side.
I wonder how much of that is, trying to just stick to the plan. Maybe, they're driving in a little slower on the bottom. That's how they've got the tire strategy mapped tonight. It's so tough. You mentioned monkey see, monkey do, but at the same time, John, you got to try to stick to the plan here for the first run and at least see what that tire wear is looking like.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, too, about running the top, you've got the chances of making a mistake, I think, go up a little bit higher because you've got a lot more going on up there. You don't want to bounce off the wall. If you pick up the throttle too early, on the bottom, if you do that, you tend to push out to the wall and you can kind of help yourself. But if you do it on the top side, guess what? You lose that back end. If you lose that back end, these cars snap around so quickly. So the top is a little bit harder to run, to be honest with you. And that could be also why a lot of these guys aren't going up there quite yet.
And now we're seeing that the outside line definitely still working, but I'm watching that 24 of Brian Lindsay, maybe not the pace he had a couple laps ago. You had mentioned Josh Robinson falling to the back. Well, now he's taking a peek towards the inside here. Maybe going to get one back. And, man, maybe throwing a wrench into what we thought. And now the boys on the bottom starting to turn the wick back up.
Yeah, I still think the top, if you can get it to roll here, Josh is doing a really good job, but you got to consider who's on the bottom here. That's former champion here of this series. It's a guy that knows how to get it done in these cars. So sometimes it's not going to matter if you're top or bottom with one of these guys like that. They always just seem to have pace no matter where they run. But like I said though, it's a lot harder to run the top, and especially once you start to get wear in your tires, you have to back it out a little bit more going into the corner. Just because, the car's not going to have the grip it does early on. So as these cars, the tires transition on these cars, that top might go away.
Watching Andy Thomas and Matt Watkins battle side by side. Watkins in the bazooka gum machine. I don't know if we have seen that paint job yet.
I don't think we have. I noticed it earlier.
Dude, these guys, I'm telling you, well, hopefully Watkins, nothing against the other drivers, but we need to get him up to the podium, or if there is that caution, I need to find out who painted that thing. I mean, these guys blow my mind every week coming out with better paint jobs.
Yeah, I remember getting that gum, and it lasted all of about 30 seconds, but, the wrapping was kind of cool,
Yeah, I think the worst one with flavor had to be the zebra fruit gum. I mean, that was gone so fast, but it was so cool.
While bazooka lasted 20, I think the zebra gum lasted about 10. A couple of good chews, and then it was gone. Oh, we got a wreck.
Big one. That's Courtney Nelson, I think, in the 78, isn't it? Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that looked like it was going to be bad, John.
Yeah, it sure did. I don't know if he was holding his brake or not, but racing 101, when you get into a wreck, you got to put your foot on that brake so that car doesn't roll around, because you don't want to be a moving target for those guys coming. Oh, the 24 got under the wall, bounced down into him, and man, the 24 made a cut. Oh, Foltz, you talked about things out of your control. Sean Foltz just got really in the wrong place at the wrong time. Wow. He's going to have a lot of damage.
And that's a little insider for everyone. I don't know if we said it over the broadcast. I can't remember. But Sean Foltz, he is that guy, he's the wounded warrior of this league. He can't go anywhere. There's a magnet in that car attracted to accidents. He has showed so much speed this season. It just, unfortunate.
Oh, no, it wasn't Foltz. It was, Foltz got into it a little bit, but no, it was James Hislop that really took a hard shot into going into turn 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at Foltz's car, though. He definitely did get into that backstretch wall.
Yeah, he did a little bit, but the 92 going into turn 3 took a big shot into that wall. And he was running top 10 before that happened, too.
Here we go. We got our caution. So we'll let
a lot of guys pitting.
Yeah, we'll let these guys do their pit stop here. And I do want to bring up Matt Watkins because we haven't talked to him yet.
Oh, yeah. Hislop has a whole lot of damage, too.
John, not a huge draft track, but, man, if you get damage here, it's pretty much good night for the win, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. If you get the handling out, because then you're going to start eating tires up, and you might be able to hold your own for 5, 10 laps, maybe 15 laps, but long run, you've killed it. And this is a track where I know it's 1.5 miles, but it's really a narrow track. It's not really that wide. And when things happen and you're kind of in a group like those guys were, I know I say this a lot, especially on short tracks, but this is almost one of those tracks where if you see the wreck, chances are you're either in it or you're going to have a really close call to get around it.
I know we said, I talked about bringing up Matt, but if anyone was watching the screen there, they saw what almost just happened and how there could be a handful for drivers tightening up here. It's coming out of the pit, so the pace lights should go off right now. They're going to get the 1 to green. We'll let them stay where they're at. think. Yeah, lights are off, so we'll let him stay. We'll try to bring him up later, but yeah, if you were paying attention there, you saw that they don't mind because it's a coulda woulda, nothing happened, but the top 4 guys almost wrecked. Getting to the pace car, that would have been that would have been a neat article to write about.
Well, we saw it at Indy today. Max McLaughlin under caution, fenced the car before the on the pace laps of the thing. So, you know what? Things can be treacherous out on racetracks even when the yellow is out.
Yeah, one of the top comments on that video from the IndyCar page, John, it says, I never want to be told my iRacing lobbies aren't like real life ever again. If we're wrecking before the race starts like that, oh, man.
And the only other time I remember, I'm old enough to remember, but Roberto Guerrero fencing it on the backstretch in 92, coming out of turn 3, gassed it up, do the same thing that Scott did. And I just remember being in shock then, just like I was today. But hey, we're getting ready to go back here.
Yes, we are. And that was, not that you wanted anybody to get damaged, but I think that was the nice little mix they needed. It's going to be a stretch, but they may be able to do it one more stop. I don't know. That's tough. No, I take that back. 130 laps, they're not going to do that one more stop. Green flag waves. We're back and ready to play. The man who we said needed it, John, leads the way. Scott Negus drives us into turn 1.
Yeah, Scotty's got the con here. They like to say he's going to barrel through 1 and 2 here. And the nice thing on a restart, you just put that foot down, you don't lift. You can just run it right through this corner.
Should mention, though, if Ryan wants to pull up those pit times, I know we got a lot going on the first lap. Scott Negus did take 2 tires. I'd assume 8-second pit stop. Everybody else in the 14s. So Scott Negus, he brought a little more than a knife to the gunfight, but he may have brought a semi-automatic instead of an automatic here, John.
Yeah, he's doing well for the first lap or 2, but they're lined up on the outside. I got a feeling, especially from what we saw in that first run, the first 10, 15 laps, that outside, you can really make ground on there with all the grip in the tires. Scott's going to have to hope that, if things equalize and he's sitting in a better position than what he was before he pitted.
Yeah, I think this is a case of where if you're racing around Scott Negus, though, if you're smart enough, you have the broadcast on. You heard that I said he took 2 tires. I don't think anyone else tries it again because that was a sketchy couple first laps, and it looks like he's still struggling to kind of hold on to that thing. It's not gonna be easy, I don't think, to regulate those tires back here, John.
Yeah, 4 tires definitely got to be 2 tires here, and you got to try them. If you're going to try it, why not do it in the first pit stop of the race when you got a whole lot of racing left here? So, if it doesn't work out, you've got time to recover from it.
One of those guys that his name was in white. You'll see it when he rolls on by. The 15 of Daryl Weininger battling on the outside. Can't get to MacArthur's door, but Daryl, one of those guys that really, really wants to punch his ticket. He's the first guy in points to not have a win, John. So he's sitting pretty good, but I think everybody wants that blanket wrapped around.
Yeah, if you're good on points, unless you're, 14, 15, 16, but if you're further up in there, you know what? You've got to balance with getting as many points as you can with winning. At least in my opinion, that's what you got to do. So, we got another caution.
Courtney Nelson going around, I'm hearing, coming off a 2. And, man,
I think he had some help there. Yeah, 32. Well, it looked like Nelson was really loose getting into the corner for some reason, and the 32 just didn't check up there in time there, and then kind of turned a 78 around there. But if you look, the back end of that 78 was definitely dancing around getting into that corner there. And when you have to do that, you have to lift, and with fresh tires and all that, guys behind you, it's tough to know what's going on there and not lifting. You close in really fast.
Now, John, before we bring up Watkins here, because I would like to bring him up, but if you're Scott Negus, it maybe didn't run its course. You come in, do you get the other 2 tires here? since you went a couple laps, or do you stay out there and you kind of?
No, I go get the other tires. It clearly wasn't going to work. You can get back on the same program as everybody else. You got 5 sets. Go in there, top off, and get another set of tires. At least
that is exactly what he's doing. I think that's good thinking there by Negus. But let's go ahead. Let's bring up the driver of the 20 here, Matt Watkins. Hey, Matt, Shaggy in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Well, man, I haven't gotten to talk to you at all this season, and I'm going to be honest with you. You got the best paint job on the racetrack, man. When you do that, you're going to get the broadcaster's attention. This is the first time we've unveiled this paint job, correct?
Yeah, it's my first next-gen race this season, so just happy to be out here and racing with these guys.
Okay, makes sense. Now, I've got a last name like Chapman, kind of common, Watkins as well, so that's probably why I didn't realize this is your first one. You got to take it on the chin, but right now, Matt, I mean, you're showing you kind of know the way around this place. You're inside the top 10. You've been on the charge. Do we got anything here for the front tonight?
I hope so. I feel good about short to mid-run speed. Little questionable about long-run speed, like the last 10% of our runs. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just a next-gen cars are definitely a learning experience for me. So just trying to get in the groove here.
What do we got for the new guy, John?
Hey, Matt, well, you're solidly up in the top 10 here, running 6. So that's got to give you a little shot of confidence for being kind of a newer to the car here for running this with these guys. But my question for you is going to be, fuel and tires. Are your tires going to last a full fuel run, or do you need to come and get some new rubber before you run out of gas?
Yeah, they'll definitely last a fuel through run. That'll be pretty sad at the end of the run, but they will make it the whole run. So we just kind of gotta manage it so we have somewhat of a car near the end of the run.
How many laps can you go on fuel, real quick?
It's about 75, I'd say.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, the lights are out. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to work here. Hopefully, you can move further up front there, and we'll talk to you at the end of the race.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Matt Watkins there, the driver of the number 20, and Zach, you heard it, 75 laps on a tank of fuel, and they think they can make the tires last. So, I guess you're gonna have to start throwing that into the calculations now.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm shocked because those trucks, they were about 52, 53 if you were good on the throttle, and man, to get that extra almost 20 laps, it's pretty unbelievable. So, looking at that, I mean, it's a one-stopper. If it stays green, it might be.
Well, these guys also have more off-throttle time than what the trucks do. The trucks, you're in the gas a whole lot more than these cars.
See, that's why you're up here, John. Because I never would have thought about that. Yeah, less power, you're on the gas more. See, that's why I need guys like you. I can hit the throttle and turn left, but I need guys to explain to me, why it does what it does.
Oh man, I'm nothing more than a house of cards on the track. I know, not just enough to be dangerous as the pace car dives off.
Yeah, the green flag's high. It's back and ready to fly. Lap 38 underway. Good jump for Lloyd Moore. Going to feel no pressure at all. Meanwhile, Dwayne MacArthur might get a little nip at the heels here from Josh Robinson. Nope, he's going to shut the door, front 3 single file, side by side from their back.
Once again, these guys tear off down the backstretch here, and that opening lap where you feel really good, tires cool back down, you can hold her wide open all the way around.
Yeah, well, that didn't last long. Dwayne MacArthur nipping here for the lead to the inside. Lloyd Moore going to hold on to it for now. Can Dwayne drive it in deep, maybe make Lloyd uncomfortable? No chance. Lloyd sends it off and drives it up on that top shelf, and going to hold on firmly, but the 83 looking at a little bit of a run. But here comes the man we just interviewed, John. Matt Watkins up to 4th, gets by defending champion, and here he comes, looking at that STP machine at Tom Ogle.
Yeah, Matt's bazooking his way through the field here, and what a good run here, especially for being the first one of the year for him, all the way up into the top 5 now. It'd be fun to watch him. Can he click 3 more spots off here?
Yeah, interesting too, because Charlotte, obviously, I mean, John, not the hardest track we go to, but not the easier of the 1.5 miles. So a lot goes into tire wear, conservation. whatnot. And Matt showing here he's got pace. That's very impressive. Here comes that top line. Moving on up.
Yeah, he is showing a lot of pace here. And, you know, Robinson, though, I don't know if Robinson's showing all his cars. I've watched him too much here in the race. He's a very, very patient driver, very calculating. I haven't yet to see him really push his car early on in a race.
Look at Crisco coming to the outside. That was a big boy move. He drove in behind Andrew Medlin in the 104. All of a sudden launched out of a cannon. Moved Crisco up to P6. Now back to 7th as they battle side by side. But Crisco, man, one of those guys who, John, he's had some runs. He hasn't been up towards the top 10 every week, but there has been moments where he's up in the top 5. And not to Sean Bolt's level, but man, he's been involved in some things that haven't been his fault this season.
Yes, he has, and you know, he's had pace on several different types of tracks too. It's just not here at these 1.5 miles, but I think we've seen him have pace almost every discipline we've visited so far this year. And just to give an update here on that last incident, the 92 of James Hislop, he has taken her behind the wall, and he has called it a night here. He got the back end of that wreck and got turned up into the turn 3 wall, and he's going to be watching the rest of the race right here on BGN, hopefully.
And Crisco, now he's up into the top 5, up into 4th as he drives around Watkins. Crisco up 21 spots, man. Started 25th up to 4th. What a run. And comes Andy Thomas, another guy that we've kind of seen, I mean, almost like Crisco, has had some good runs at certain tracks, just involved. I mean, I can think of Martinsville. He was running pretty good at Martinsville. Not similar, but here he comes on the outside. He's got a good run, and old Medley gets a little loose below him.
Yeah, and Zach, we should mention too, now we're a few laps into this run, and you know what? The whole field is still really almost nose to tail. I mean, you got to go all the way back to about 20th. The first 19 cars are essentially nose to tail here.
And, you know, I feel like, John, that's the best time for these drivers too, because, I mean, you can still see the leaders. You can see maybe this is the time to learn. You know, we still have 115 laps to go. That's a lifetime. So if you can pick up a 10th or 2, learning from those guys, I mean, that may be what you need to bring it home at the end.
Yeah, and the other thing I like too, running in a pack like this is, you know what, you don't overdrive your car, you're going to run into somebody. So, you know, in a weird or roundabout way, this actually, driving in a pack like this helps you preserve your car, because you gotta lift earlier, you know, you got to do a lot of things that actually will help you get some life out of your car.
Victor Lane, we're riding on board there with the 10. You can see he is one of those guys just kind of pacing towards the back of the front pack, watching what's going on, but is definitely close enough to strike. So I like what he's doing. You know, honestly, John, I don't think I'm on the move really trying to push the race car, truthfully, till about lap 100, maybe lap 80 if I'm back in the field a little bit.
Yeah, and you're starting to see it break into 2 different packs here. You know, about from 15th on back, Negus is in that 15th spot. He's kind of a few car lengths back behind that front pack here, but now he's kind of gotten back around Lane. Let's see if it looks like he is going to run right back up into the back of this other pack here.
And you mentioned Lane Luke. He is one of the guys tied for 16th in points. So Luke looking for every point he can get here coming in tonight. It is not going to be an easy road the way he's been battling. You'd like to get that win. He came oh so close at Talladega. I believe he came home P2. But man, he's one of those guys just looking to dig his way into the playoffs.
Yeah, and the hard part when you're in or around that cut line, you know, it's not so much you gotta have a strategy to get as many points as you can, but equally, I guess, as part of your strategy is you can't afford to lose points. So, you know, you have to drive a certain way, you know, make sure you're not putting yourself in a bad spot on the track, making sure you're making good decisions. If you see guys racing hard right in front of you, you know, I don't want to say trading paint, but getting awful close to even trading paint, maybe you need to back up a little bit so you don't get caught into something. So there's a lot of things that you've got to do behind the wheel and think and make decisions in real time, even if you're not trying to pass somebody.
And you talk about situational racing, and I think right now, if you're Crisco running P3, John, I believe he was 19th in points, right around that top 20 mark. Do you go up here and you try to lead a lap for that bonus point? You try to maybe push it, or are you costing yourself too much on the back end with tire wear?
If I can get there easily, I go for it. If I feel like I got to scrap a lot to get there, then I don't use up my car to get there. I mean, ideally, yeah, you'd like to get up there and get that point, but what's going to be the purpose if you try doing that? And sure, you lead your lap, but by the end of the run, you're sitting 10th or 11th because you pushed the tires off of it doing so.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, maybe towards the end of the run, or towards the end of the race, if you realize you don't have that pace to go win the race, maybe then you try to play that card.
Yeah.
Right now, I think if you're Crisco, you've been quick at other racetracks. I don't think you want to burn up what you got right now. You're hanging out with some of the top dogs here, and if you can snip that lead, I'm feeling pretty good here with over 100 to go.
Yeah, and another update, driver update, Courtney Nelson, now that we've seen him involved in a couple of incidents here early, he is now also taking his car behind the fence there, and I believe is going to call it a night.
Tough break there for Courtney. Not much he could have done, but
at least he's punched his tickets, though.
Yep, and maybe just going to shake it off here is, spoiler alert, we're back under the lights next week in Nashville. Short track racing, maybe that'll fit Courtney's style there. He can get some of that aggression out here.
Yeah, that concrete down in Nashville creates some very interesting racing. That track, we've talked about pit roads. Wait till we get there and watch some of these guys. If we got green flag pit stops next week, oh boy, you better hang on.
See Chris Bates there as we ride along. He had a big run on Daryl Weininger. Daryl kind of went up, shut the door going down the backstretch, then goes to the bottom in 3 and 4. Now, if you're Chris, you're not that upset about it now, but as you're trying to move up through the field, John, does it upset you at all? And this is part of racing, so I don't think there's a right or a wrong. But do you like when that guy's using up the whole racetrack as you're trying to move through? But, I mean, at the end of the day, Daryl's entitled to that. He's allowed to go where he wants to.
Yeah, as a driver, I hate it. As a fan, and even though I hate it as a driver, I understand what they're doing. You've got the rearview mirror, and it's fine. But, the one thing you don't want to see as a driver is if they're cutting it close and making, putting you in a bad spot. But if you're going to do that, though, you got to be aware that you may make somebody make a move that's a high-risk move that you could end up paying the price for. So, I've talked to guys before that like to use that mirror, and, they'll readily admit that, yeah, it's bitten them a time or two. So if you're going to do that, and I don't know that he is doing it, but, if you're moving around, you've got to understand what you're doing to the guys behind them. And, yeah, you just accept those consequences if they come your way.
Well, we got a battle for the lead here, boys. Tom Ogle to the bottom, taking a peek under Lloyd Moore. He's got to lift out of the throttle there pretty good in the center. Lloyd should have the advantage coming off of 4. And now Dwayne MacArthur, he just lost P2 a couple laps ago to Tom when Tom drove around the top side. Now they're going to reverse the roles here. Dwayne looking to get it done through 1 and 2.
Yeah, we shouldn't really be surprised to see that number 11 car up front battling for the lead here. I touched on that when we were going through the lineup here. This is a guy who's really strong on these 1.5 miles. So then Tom Ogle there.
Dwayne MacArthur with a big check up there, John, to fall in line. And all of a sudden, Andrew Medlin right there on the deck lid. And we got 6 cars here you could put under a blanket, almost 7 if you want to include Weininger. I mean, John, we've had some close races this season. But you mentioned it a couple laps ago, after the restart, 15 laps in, we were all within, I want to say, 2 seconds. Now the top 20 all within 3 seconds. This is an even race here today.
Yeah, and you could basically jump from car to car to car if they were all sitting still on, all the way back to 16th, 17th spot. They're all still really tightly packed here.
Tom Ogle shopping downstairs looking for a discount here, but he's not going to find one. Lloyd Moore with a big run on the outside through 1 and 2. And I think, John, I like what Lloyd's doing. Hey, you know, you want this thing, you go burn it up on the bottom, try to drive by me. I'm going to do what's comfortable.
Yeah, the run that you get on corner exit here by running that top line is really huge. You know, you see him make up the difference, you know, right on a corner exit, and Ogle doesn't really cut back into that deficit until he gets into the corner, maybe even midway through the corner.
Like what Ogle did there. That's the first time he's done it, John. Maybe got in the throttle a little too early. You could see he got close to the wall. Maybe had to back out. But he's backing up the corner. You can see he's trying to diamond down so he can get that run off the corner.
And he
Tom,
does.
and smart driver. I'm telling you, this is fun to watch. It's easy to pick apart up here in the booth, but to adjust your line on the fly, do what it takes to try to get around. Tom's playing this thing smart.
Yeah, and he's doing it on both ends of the track now, kind of that going in high and driving her down low as you come out of the corner there, which is when we say they're diamonding the corner, that's exactly what we're talking about. He's going to do it again down here, 3 or 4. Look at that, way up high. Now look as he comes out of turn 4, going to be right down on the bottom there on that line. So, and he's making time doing it.
He is. I don't think it's a matter of if, it's when. I mean, he is just relentless. We can see Watkins. They're working on the inside in that 20. Negus with the run on the outside. Watkins was up there in P4. He's kind of floated back, and meanwhile you're watching there, Ogle, he had got a big run out of 2, let Lloyd know he was there, gave him a friendly little bump there going down the back stretch, John.
He does, and boy, man, he's really doing it. And you know, that we're gonna have to watch his tire wear here, because, you know, to turn down the track like that and gas it up, while, you know, that doesn't quite put as much strain on the tires as if you were on the bottom all the way around the corner. But I still got to believe that's going to add a little bit more strain to it, wear into your right front especially, as the run goes on.
And it's interesting to see here. I mean, obviously Negus was kind of stuck on the bottom, and I mean, we're all on a tire advantage, but do we think maybe, John, let's say, we'll look into the crystal ball, we get a caution with 10, maybe 15 laps to go. Can you hold off the field here with a set of just right sides? Do you think doing the top?
I don't think so. No, I think Negus showed us the way there. That strategy is not going to work. But you know what? Let me talk out of both sides of my mouth here for a minute. It's not going to work while that sun's up. That sun's going down. Once the sun goes down, track temperature cools. That two-tire strategy. Now that I'm thinking about it, you may want to watch it if the sun's down.
You can cue the Kenny Chesney music, Ryan. You got it up there. There we go. You watch Tom Ogle. He finally got around, and now more. He's maybe paying for it there. Maybe he was working a little hard on the outside. He loses another one to MacArthur. Now Medlin going to take a peek on the bottom. We'll have to see if Moore is able to hold on, because, John, we mentioned the field's really close. You lose one, you lose a couple really fast. I mean, they're all right there. You don't really have time to catch your breath here.
No, you really don't. You know, that's always makes your life a whole lot more difficult, because, you know, if you go try something that doesn't work, it's gonna, you know, it's not simple as it's gonna cost you. You're not gonna just fall back in line. You may lose a couple of spots in the process by the sheer fact of something not working out. But Negus, you know, we need to go back, take a look at Negus there. I mean, he is cutting his way through once again. He is all the way back up into the top 5.
Cutting a rug. Here he goes to the inside, trying to take a peek under Andrew Medlin, who lost the spot to Josh Robinson after trying to work that bottom on Lloyd Moore, and now Negus tries it. But you just see Medlin with a big run out of 2, kind of has to fall in line. And it's really at bay of that guy in front of you, I think. You know, if they want to leave that top shelf open, it's easier to get the run done. But now we're seeing the front 2 run the bottom, and Dwayne MacArthur taking a peek for the lead at the line. They're side-by-side entering 1.
Man, we've had a lot of side-by-side racing here. This is great stuff here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You know, I talked about it early on. This is going to be a fun track to watch, and it is definitely delivering here. Guys are running up top, running through the middle, running on the bottom. Great stuff here at Charlotte.
Here comes the car you mentioned, Negus, that red machine inching his way on up as MacArthur clears the pass for the lead. He leads lap 69 as we're on to lap 70, inching ever so closer to that halfway point. Man,
we got one that just blinked out.
Lloyd Moore. Yeah, we'll have to
he's
see
still
if
gone.
hopefully Lloyd comes back, but he has been
his
gone
quality,
for a while.
his quality is going down according to iRacing here. We talked about this earlier. The virtual world, internet connections, but he's been gone. Oh, I'm going to bet we're going to see a packet loss on him before too long. I got a feeling. Tough break for Lloyd Moore, who really needed a good run here because he's one of those guys right around that cutoff line.
And that's one of them, you hate to do it, but I'm stealing your line, John. You go race a 36-week season, you're going to have a motor blow up, and that's just exactly what you got to chalk it to.
Yep. And another driver, too, that's dropped out, Brian Lindsay in that 24 machine there. We watched him run up front, got in trouble there, and looks like he's calling it a night, too. And, yeah, Lloyd, his quality for his car is all the way down to 20%. So, yeah, it's a matter of time before we get that packet loss.
And you notice, can't blame that, but I bet you, John, it didn't help. Obviously, tires are going to start to wear, but see that car blink out, you're going to lift out of the throttle a little bit.
Yeah.
We look at that leaderboard as the leaders come by the next time. 7th place now, 2 seconds back on the leader. It really spread out that front pack.
Yeah, but I also think we've been green now for a long time. We're working lap 73. These guys have 40 laps on their tires now, I think. We're pretty close to it, give or take. So handling is now an issue, Guys that kind of took care of their stuff, looked after the tires, are going to be okay. But if you're looking here at the lap times here, let's see, I'm kind of on Scott Negus' car here. Let's see what his lap time is. He just ran a 30.80. Qualifying was down in the 29s for these guys. He did a 29.80, so he's a second slower than what he was when he qualified. And Lloyd Moore's, his packet loss thing finally came through here, so that's definitely an engine gremlin for him, as we like to say in the virtual world. So we'll see if they can get it fixed and see if he can get back out here.
That's interesting you say that with the 30.80. Obviously, he's going to get some draft, John, but that made my eyes open wide because he's the quickest car on the racetrack right now. Now, as they come across, he ran a 30.86. The leaders, front two, both ran a 30.91. So Negus, the last 2 laps, has been the quickest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, but he keeps tapping the wall. Last time going into one there, he kind of smacked the wall on turn and entry. So all the gains that he's making, he's losing by playing SOS, doing SOS signals into the wall as he goes into turn 1 here. But yeah, and this is where we talked about pit strategy. You're halfway through a fuel run, a little over halfway through a fuel run here. So pitting early, when you can make up a second, you might even get to be where you're making up a second and a half a lap. And boy, you know what? If you can time it just right, you can make up a ton of ground by not only getting into pit road better than everybody else, but having those fresh tires for a lap or 2. You could make up a couple, 2-3 seconds just through a pit cycle.
So let's look here. Some of the guys, now Scott Negus, because remember, John, he had taken 2 tires and had come down to get the other 2. He hit lap 35. Everyone else, all the other guys have hit lap 27. So we were told, 75 laps?
Yep.
So you got to make it to 95, you think. You got to get to lap 95. That puts us to 75 to go. So I think if you could make it to lap 95, that's when we're going to start to see guys who are maybe struggling come down pit road.
Yeah, I think so. These guys, they're full on lifting now in the corners, and I've seen these guys now tapping the wall coming out. So their cars are handling awful at this point. They're just, most of these guys are hanging on until they get to pit road. But you got some battles back here. Garisco and Medlin are side by side. A little bit further back, you got Isaacs and Weiniger also side by side here.
Yeah, and Jerry Isaacs, one of those guys right now inside of the cut, but still needs that first win, battling with Weiniger, who is the first man inside that cut. Weiniger comfortably in at the moment, but still needs to keep that thing on, keep his top 20 finishes, really top 10 finishes with how well he's been running. Daryl's looking good tonight.
Yeah, and Foltz is going to join that little party up there too with Isaacs and Weiniger.
Even after the wall tap too, which is impressive, you know, and nursing it with damage, you know. It's obviously it's not going to affect the car too bad, John, slapping it on the wall, but I would think, you know, you're maybe going to get a little bit added tire wear. It's not going to run like it did when you unloaded.
No, it'll take a little bit out of it for sure. And man, you know, I think watching these guys, they have got their hands full trying to get it to the next pit stop.
Yeah, it looked like Ogle was starting to squirm a little bit. He gave in to Josh Robinson, defending champion, up to P2 here. And Higo put some work in on Dwayne MacArthur. I mentioned in the lead-in, and those guys had a battle to the line last week. It didn't end in the defending champion's favor. Could he get it back this week? You see the boss man finally gets the pass completed. Crisco sending it in, trying to get around Medlin. That's Watkins behind, watching the battle. He's got a pretty good view of that. Let's ride on board with Watkins here, Ryan. Yeah, look at that. Crisco, oh, he's tired of looking up high. Was going to try to go in the basement, but Medlin shut the door. And Watkins here, he's got the big run. He saved a lot here, it looks like, John. He's got some pace looking over the guys in front of him.
Yeah, well, these guys should better get it sorted out real quick here, because those top four guys, even though third and fourth are running side by side, they are running away from these guys.
Yeah, Negus, man, he is battling for third here, John. Taking a peek on the inside. Scott Negus, I'm telling you, the guy's learning. I mean, he'd be the first person to admit, we watched him earlier races this season. Johnny had pace, but it was 20-lap pace. He wasn't there at the end of a long run. He is proving himself to the gang here tonight.
Yep, he sure is, and he's got himself in contention, that's for sure.
Watkins feeling pressure. Isaac's taking a look on the inside, but Isaac's feeling what so many have felt here. Can't complete the pass coming off a 4 on the bottom, and you feel like you're Superman in that car, John. And now he's got the cape flapping, he's got it up high. But Watkins can still shut the door as we go back to Chris Bates on the inside, side by side.
Yeah, and looking at these lap times now, Zach, we're running in the 31s here. Good question. Do you short pit? What do you do?
Yeah, if I'm back there,
because you are going to lose the lap. If you pit under green, you are going to lose some laps.
Yeah, if I'm in the 31s right now, there's no question. In 10 laps, I'm coming down, but I've got to get to 95. I've got to be able to make it the rest of the way home. And while that really may not be short pitting, because I think a lot of other guys are thinking the same way, I just don't know. If you're coming now, John, you're going to have to stop again. I just don't. If you were going to do that, you might as well have hit 20 laps ago, I think. Josh Robinson looking on that outside, but here you see they're still battling side by side. Daryl Weininger on the outside. That's Brian Lynch taking a peek on the inside. Brian making it look easy there. That 9 machine is rolling. That's who was battling with the 81 of Chris Bates a couple laps ago. You see Chris now looking on the inside of Luke Lane. They're 3 wide through 3 and 4.
They hold it together.
Oh, and old tires too. I thought we might get our caution there, John. That was sketchy. Old tires, but the boys, they proved why they're the best show on Sunday nights. That is not easy to do on 60-lap old tires.
That's not easy to do with fresh rubber, and that just goes to show too the amount of respect these guys have for each other on the track. They gave each other room to work. They definitely clogged up the track there and used every available inch to do it. But you know what? They did a nice job here. Those guys definitely deserve a tip of the hat there for that, getting through that.
Battle on 4. I thought the battle was on for the lead. MacArthur went up and absolutely slammed the door shut in Robinson's face. And now Scott Negus looking on the bottom here through 3 and 4, trying to take a peek at second. There isn't going to have enough. As we come to the stripe here, lap 89, MacArthur still leads the way. And we're getting ever so closer to that coveted lap 95. About 6 laps away, John, I think, till we start seeing guys make green flag pit stops.
Yeah, and I can't say that I'm really surprised that 23 is up there battling for the lead, because we touched on it earlier about how he's really smart, and I didn't think he was showing all his cards. I think he's just driving his race, making sure he's using stuff up at his rate, and it's paying off here now on a really long run here.
Yeah, and Dwayne MacArthur, that last time by, while we mentioned some of the other guys running in the 31s, John, he just ran his quickest lap in quite some time, a 30.8. So the front four still running in those 30.8s, 0.9s. They've done a good job. We got our first pitter here. And look, this is going to put us 70 to go here. So, John, should be good. Should be good here.
Yeah. And, the other thing, too, where we were talking about Robinson, he's always pretty good on the tracks. But you know what? He's been really lights out getting on and off pit road in green flag conditions here. So watch to see if he doesn't really be able to take advantage here and, leapfrog MacArthur on the pit cycle.
No, and this is one of those places where one of the trickiest pit road entrances I think we'll have, and you can make or break time here. You can absolutely come barreling in, drag the brake, and I mean, you can really nail it. But at the same time, John, you lock them up. Now they've got that wall for a little bit of safety there at the entrance of pit road, so you clip that thing, you're in trouble, so you got to hit your marks.
Yeah, and remember, the blend line is all the way back coming out of turn 2, so you got to drive down on that apron all the way through 1 and 2. You can push it to the limit getting around there. You can make up time also there. I think even more so than what you can getting onto pit road, to be honest with you, because you got more time to do it and get and gain there. So we'll have to see. Both ends are critical, that's for sure.
Yeah, and, not to add drama that necessarily isn't necessary, but, they've been throwing rubber down there, John, so it's not like coming off pit road the earlier times. I mean, it gets trickier the longer this race goes out there, folks. It really does. So they've got
there's a lot of crud down there, and you're on cold tires, so that's a pretty good mixture to have something go wrong.
Daryl Weininger now hitting pit road. He's one of the guys coming down the pitch. The outside looking in. Here we go. Negus rolling the top. Robinson took a little peek on the bottom, but just can't mount any type of run down there. It doesn't seem like you got to be up top on these old tires coming out of the corners.
Yeah, and we should give a shout out to Lloyd Moore's crew, because he is back out there. So whatever gremlins they had to encounter, he's got them fixed. It looks like he's back on the track. Just unfortunately, I think the win is definitely going to be out of reach for him now.
Yeah, and it stinks. I believe 16 laps down, and at this point, you're hoping something unfortunate happens to someone, so you can maybe
do a lot of someone's.
A couple extra spots. Yeah, but man, in this league, as we've seen week after week, not like if you want a big wreck, you're parking up the wrong tree. It doesn't happen too often here. Hopefully that commentator's curse doesn't happen. As you see Sean Foltz working to the inside of Jerry Isaacs. But Isaacs making it look easy. No, Sean Foltz making it look easy. He's diving down pit road. That's one of the first guys in the top 10 to pit, John.
Yep, I was about to say, Zach, we just wrapped up lap 95. We're now working lap 96, so that window is definitely open now.
Yeah, and I didn't throw myself under the bus on the fly, but my math wasn't exactly that good.
Ogle's coming out of 4th.
Yeah, we're at 65 laps to go, so we're plenty good. I don't know what I was thinking with my math there. I don't know how I graduated.
So they are kind of short pitting here. Ogle's going to get some laps now, but that's a second and a half difference with new tires. Is that going to force these front guys, or is somebody going to run them long? Those are all things that these drivers got to consider and think about.
I really do think, John, from what we've seen, and I've mentioned with these leaders kind of hanging, here we go, leader coming down pit road. Yep. These guys have kind of stalled out. The front four did a great job with their tire management. They're hanging around that 30.9, now hitting in the 31s a little bit. So I believe if they bring their tires in the way they did that last run, they've kind of found the max, as we've seen at so many tracks this season. Yeah,
that's for sure here. And now these guys got to be careful. I'm going to bet right here you're going to see Negus come in. He went straight to the bottom, and it looks like both he and Robinson's going to stay out there, but Negus, here he comes to pit road out of second.
Yeah, and I was watching Negus too there, John. Excellent job, I think. Really maintained speed there rolling through the corner. Should have a good pit loss time here, but Josh Robinson, man, we've seen him do it before, hang out there long and come back and win the race, but we've seen it bite him in the foot. So who knows how much longer he can stay out, but the clock's got to be ticking.
Oh, and Negus overshot his pit and had to back up. Oh, wow, he had to back up a lot. Big mistake by Scott Negus.
Huge mistake, and our leader, Josh Robinson, comes down pit road. Matt Watkins, P2, going to follow him. Jerry Isaacs inherits the lead, and he gets the lead in time to lead that lap.
And look right behind him, Zach. That's a battle probably for the lead between MacArthur and Ogle.
That will be the battle for the lead, and Tom Ogle driving right by on that top shelf. MacArthur maybe bringing those tires in a little easier here than Tom. That may be something to keep an eye on later. But if you're Isaacs, I think you're either hoping for a caution here, you're swinging down pit road, Isaacs to pit road.
Yeah, it'll be neat to see here as these guys come around. Where is Robinson? And more importantly, where is Negus? Because, boy, big mistake on pit road by Negus. And they're going right around Robinson. Robinson's got to lose a lot of time. He was in front of both those guys, and now he's going to be half a straightaway, if not further, behind those guys by the time he gets up to speed.
He's got 60 laps to run those guys down, and not going to be easy here. 3 seconds.
And that was staying, 3 seconds, and that was staying out a couple of laps longer, a second and a half. So right there you go. Those 2 extra laps out there on that fresh tires, you see the difference now.
Yeah, this is going to be quite the story here if Robinson can't run these guys down. But meanwhile, Tom Embassy right in his own out front, stealing the bonus point. They're big for Tom Embassy, going to get a couple laps led, and maybe one of those guys, John, just hoping, praying here for a caution, trap some guys a lap down. We've only got 10 on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Scott Negus, I hate pounding on it, kicking a guy when he's down, but to show you the importance of getting on and off pit road cleanly, he overshot his pits, had to back up. He has completely lost touch with the leaders. He is going to be way behind the 8 ball now to try to get himself back in contention to win this race.
Yeah, and I think the other bad thing about that, John, you make a mistake, it forces you to do things you don't want to do, and Scott Negus just ran his fastest lap of the race. Now, why I say that is he's about 3-4 tenths faster than those guys he was racing with right now, John. I don't think that's going to age well with the tires. It looks good right now, but, maybe 20 to go if this thing stays green. Scott might be hurt.
Yeah, the one thing he has going for him, though, is, the end of that run, he was one of the fastest guys on the track. I mean, he seemed to look after him pretty well there after going that full fuel run there. So maybe he can replicate that and make up some ground towards the end of this race here. Because if we go green, they're not coming back to pit road.
Sean Foltz there in that 59. He's currently running 7th. I believe he was one of those first guys.
Battle for the lead.
The top 10, yeah, battle for the lead. You're right. Dwayne MacArthur to the top shelf. Tom Ogle trying to roll the bottom here. Man, oh man, Dwayne MacArthur. It just seems like when he wants it this season, John, he takes it. I mean, that guy has had an answer at almost every racetrack we rolled into.
Yeah, but we watched him fade a little bit towards the end of that run. And like I said, we go green here. The end of this run is going to be very similar to the last. So these first 20 laps out here coming out of the pit road, you want to stay competitive, stay in touch, but you really got to resist pushing too hard and abusing those tires, or you're really got to pay the price right about the time the pay window opens. And that's definitely not what you want to see happen or have happen to you.
Negus right there on the deck lid of the 104 of Andrew Medlin, who's behind Sean Foltz. Medlin going to look to the top shelf here, try to carry that momentum. He's got a lot through 1 and 2. Going to make it look easy. Foltz not really putting up a fight. Now Negus bounces down to the bottom. Got that Mustang rolling, and Foltz Man, he's just playing the smart game. I like what the 59's doing. He knows he doesn't maybe have the pace to win, so you got to play the long game here. And go ahead, go on by. I'll hopefully see you again in about 20, 30 laps.
Yeah, and to update you on the 23, who lost a lot of ground there on that pit cycle by staying out, is slowly but surely reeling those front two back in. I'm thinking it probably helped him when they got side by side there for a couple laps. Probably he was able to make up a lot of ground during that point in time, but he is starting to get not quite within drafting distance where he can get their draft and pull him up there, but he's getting awful close to that point.
See, John, that's why we need you. Now, do you think possibly that's going through the head of Tom Ogle when he sees MacArthur duck out, make the pass, says, hey, guy, I'm not going to fight you right now. We don't need that dog behind us barking up our back here. Just let it get in line and try to keep the pace. Do you think that went through Tom's head, or is he just focused on his own deal right now?
Tom's a pretty smart cat behind that wheel. It wouldn't surprise me if that's not his thought process. If the guys that recognize that kind of thing, because you definitely go faster nose to tail than you do side by side battling out here, and that I'm sure neither one of those guys really want that 23 to get up there and make it a three car race here at the end.
I'm just trying to pick storylines here, John. Right now we got 19 guys on the lead lap. We would stay at 19 if you're flirting back there in the back. I mean, if we get a caution with 20 to go, or you can't stay out. You absolutely can't.
So no, not when there's a second difference. You gotta, if we get a caution, I would say from, lap 135 to maybe 155, you've got to pit, without a doubt. After 55, hey, you might want to roll the dice. Maybe you can get a little better track position, if you're towards the back of the lead lap guys.
You mentioned Josh. He's within that coveted 1 second mark right now, right?
Yeah.
1 second off of Tom Ogle. He is sniffing these guys.
Yeah, I would say another lap. I would say he's probably going to start picking up the draft from them if he already hasn't, but he's getting really close to that point. When he does, I suspect he'll pull up pretty quick, but the thing he's also got to be careful of is not to push that right front off, because when you do get into somebody's wake like that, it takes the air off the nose. It can cause you to have to put a little more wheel into the car and use that right front up a little bit more to get it a turn.
Watching Crisco try to fight off Negus there, does a good job. Negus kind of has to pull the reins on the horses here, settle down. Crisco, one of those guys who had a lot of pace there at the beginning of the last run, battling up there for third. Kind of falling off there on the long green flag run is Tom Ogle. Absolutely nose to tail there with Dwayne MacArthur. I mean, you couldn't tell where one car started and the other finished. Oh, man.
Zach, we're about to have a 3-car race for this lead here.
Yeah, and it blows my mind. I mean, Josh, that is, John, obviously laps make a difference, but 2 laps, and he is.
Yeah, once he got the draft, I knew he was going to pull up really quickly. And look at this run into the corner. Closed up, another 2, maybe 3 car lengths just on corner entry right there alone.
So we've got 3 laps fresher than the 11 in front of him and 2 laps fresher than the 83. He won Josh Robinson, man. If you got time to get to the betting window, you might want to put some money on that 23. It looks good, but anything could happen. Get a late caution, who knows? I mean, Daryl Weininger hanging out inside the top 5 once again quietly right there in 4th. Andrew Medlin in 5th. Those are some guys that maybe didn't have that long pace, or that long run pace, John, but caution 20-30 to go. I mean, there are a handful of guys who can seriously bring home the checkered flag.
Yeah, and the lights are out, or lights are on here at the track. You know what? Sun's down, lights are on, and you know what? These cars are going to go a little faster. They're going to make a little more power because it's definitely, the track temp's going to cool down. The tires are going to, get into the track a little bit better. And Ogle is to the top side and around for the lead.
Yeah, I think if you're Ogle, if you think you have any pace, you're worried. You got that 23 coming behind you with the tire advantage. I could be wrong, John, but I think I'd rather defend than try to pass if I'm disadvantaged on tires. Am I right?
Oh, 100%. Plus, I'd rather be out front where you've got clean air because you're gonna have a much better handling car. So, you know, I would much rather be out front and make somebody else deal with the wake. But I'll tell you, MacArthur on that outside, he's gonna have a big run, gonna dive down to the inside, going into turn 3.
MacArthur taking a peek here, and then it's going to be interesting to see. You know, I had mentioned Tom Embassy. He stayed out to lead that lap, John. Well, he went a lap down, but here he comes. I mean, he's got quicker. He's got fresh tires. You think he'd be a little quicker than these guys, but you know, you got to play nice. I think when you see the front 3 under a blanket like this, a tough spot here for Tom to be in.
Yeah, Massey is definitely kind of watching with an eye. Really wants to get around these guys, but you know what? Being the first car lap down, you know what? That's not a bad spot to be in either. You're going to get a lucky dog if you want to just make sure nobody else gets between you and the leader. So he can afford to be just a touch patient here.
Yeah, that's almost, you know, a good point there, John. Maybe you use these guys to drive off of, pick your way through as they start to get other guys on deck. Josh Robinson trying to use the bottom there, coming off of 2. Just can't find the run. MacArthur with drafting help there up top. And now he leaves the top open. I don't know if MacArthur wanted to do that, John. Move Robinson up to P2.
He's going to have a big run down this entire front stretch there, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't stay up top, try to get a run. Yep, he stays right on the top. But the 11 takes that line, and now, oh, look at this. 23's got to use that diamond, like what you saw Ogle doing earlier.
Can 23 do that the rest of the race? If I'm the 11, yeah, you couldn't put a credit card between me and that outside wall. Oh, man, Josh still with a good run on the bottom, and boy, that would have been a good race to the line. Now, how deep do Tom and Josh drive this thing in? Tom sends it in deep. Josh has to back out the center of the corner. Tom does as well, so they stay even. Not as big of an advantage there for Tom off the top there, John.
Yeah, MacArthur's behind him probably thinking, that's it, guys. Use your stuff up. I'll get back up here in a few laps.
I think he may have said a 4-letter word, but I know exactly what you're thinking there, John.
Hey, it was hard for me not to say it on the air. I don't need the GM police finding me and all that kind of good stuff. Or not that they fine us, but we do like to keep our broadcast PG as much as we can.
And I think, you know, that's exactly the attitude, because whether, you know, he thinks he can win this thing or not, when you're sitting there in third place, that's the attitude you got to have. I mean, you got to try to find the bright spot. So you say, man, these guys, they're using their stuff up. Psych yourself into thinking you're going to have that tire advantage later. I mean, we talk about momentum. I mean, that's the same with your mentality. If you think you have an advantage out there, John, you can gain a 10th, I'm telling you.
Yep, and here comes MacArthur right back at it. These guys battled for a little bit, and I think MacArthur, and I might be crazy, but I think MacArthur just shifted down in 3 and 4.
I do always forget about these guys having that 5th gear now. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, he shifted up to 5th, going right under the flag stand. I'm watching his in-car. He stays in 5th all the way through 1 and 2 here, which you can carry a lot of speed. So let's see, still in his car here over in 3 and 4. Yep, down to 4th, going into 3.
Yeah, these guys blew my mind. I guess they're just finding a little extra grip there with the downshift, maybe helping.
Well, it gives you a little, it gives you a little better drive off the corner. Helps slow the car down just a little bit, and gives you a little better drive off here. I'm going to move up into Robinson's in car now and watch him, you know, 5th gear all the way through 1 and 2. Like to see what these leaders are doing. Looks like he's going to stay in 5th all the way through 3 and 4, but he's on that top side there, and he's got that momentum.
Yeah, he does. He's got it at the line. If that was the last lap, give it to the 23. Big run off of 4, and he proved he can get it done to the line. But can he complete the pass? Here's the question. Will he slide up in front of the 11? The answer is yes. Tom Ogle, does he cut back down to the bottom there, dancing, going down the backstretch, side by side?
Sure does. I mean, it's almost textbook. It looks like Ogle stays in 5th gear too. So right now, of the top 3, the only one doing the shifting is going to be MacArthur. I mean, it's not hurting him. I don't know if there's I can't figure out if there's an advantage to doing it or not doing it. It just looks like it's just matching up to how they're, who's behind the wheel here and what they're getting out of the car, because like I said, I can't see any clear advantage to doing it.
No, and honestly, well, I mean, I don't think they're worried about it now because they pit with enough time as they come up on the 17 of Larry Corey. He was a little loose there, but did a good job of keeping it high. That was a scare for the leaders. Boy, man, Larry, good job hanging on to that in the 17. Scott Negus looks under the 104 of Andrew Medlin. Medlin's doing a good job of rolling that high side. Negus, though, he can't drive through him. Got to go around him. Tries it on the bottom. Can't complete it.
Yeah, Negus is probably still kicking himself because he should be up there with the other 3 battling for this lead here, but they are almost a full straightaway ahead of him. So that whole pit sequence, man, that's gonna kind of stick with him. I'm gonna bet behind the wheel. He's doing a good job of shaking it off and getting back to work here. So you got to give him credit for that. But you know what? I'll tell you what. If there's gonna be one driver that's gonna get jacked up if we get a caution late in this deal, it's gonna be Negus, because he's gonna get another bite at the apple.
Yeah, that would be a guy to really keep my eye on here if we get a caution. We're coming 31 to go this time. As Robinson and them drive through 1 and 2. You're watching Warisco now. Negus battle on the high side. He finally gets to that outside. And he take the run and complete the pass on Medlin. Medlin going to leave him plenty of room. So Scott's got the run. Going to stay up top. Andrew going to fall in line. Scott gets it done. "30 laps to go, though, so plenty of time here for the tires to age and fall." The leader last time by ran a 30.57. Tom Ogle with a 30.64. MacArthur with a 30.75. Those are your top 3 on speeds. Well, actually, Matt Watkins with a 30.72. Jerry Isaacs right there with a 30.71. So, guys showing pace all throughout the field, but as John mentioned a little bit, we don't have that tightness we had in the beginning, really starting to spread out as we'd fall back to 18th, the last car on the lead lap, 18 seconds off the leader. So we are starting to spread out now, John, or 25 seconds, excuse me.
Yeah, which means if you're one of those cars that are that 20-second range, you're probably looking at your relative, and I'm going to bet those leaders are popping in on it. So sense of urgency definitely will kick in for those guys. If it already hasn't, probably will be here shortly. And, you're getting down to it here. 30 laps, you don't want to have, be in a really big hole any more than that, just in case we do get that late caution.
And that we mentioned it before here as MacArthur takes a peek for the lead. He's looking low through 3 and 4. Hennessy just right there behind the leaders, John. He wants that caution flag more than anybody here. But MacArthur, give it to the 83 at the line. Man, you could have put a blanket over those 2. That was close.
Yeah, Massey's back there. He's got the best seat in the house, and he didn't have to pay for that ticket. He gets to be right out there and see what's going on in real time.
No, and I'm telling you, he may not be absorbing it right now, but he is without knowing it. You're learning so much behind those 3 guys. I mean, they are no shot at anyone else. We've got a lot of good drivers in here, but every track we've gone to, these 3, they've been dogs at the top every time. The kind of knowledge you're absorbing running behind these guys, it's you got to pay for that kind of stuff most of the time, John.
Yeah, you do. And I'll tell you this, too. Running in that spot is a really great idea for no other reason than if these guys catch other guys that are on the same lap, put them a lap down, and all of a sudden Massey's trying to run for that position with them. Well, a lot of times you'll see them they'll make a hole for you to make the pass. So Massey might catch the back end of the pack with these guys, guys will get out of the leader's way and open a door for Massey to make some passes too. So this can actually work for him, as strange as it is, just sitting there riding right behind these guys.
Watching the battle for 15th, Mark Fish was trying to work the bottom there, that 42. But Andy Thomas held on, and now Fred Wolford works around in that Lightning McQueen machine. Fred Wolford trying to get up into the top 15. One spot to go, though, and Andy Thomas not going to make it easy. That Navy machine's been good up top. Sean Foltz feeling the pressure here from Crisco. Robert going to drive in, take a peek low. Sean not going to leave him a lot of room, so Crisco falls in line. Gonna have to lick the pause here and give it a go again. Try to build up some momentum if you're Crisco.
Yeah, and you know, I know we've talked about him quite a bit too. He's a little further up the track from Crisco, but you know, Negus is running P4, and that's really where he was up, you know, before the pit stop. So he's had a nice recovery, that's for sure. You know, post pit stop. But boy, that 00, Lloyd Moore is several laps down. But man, that guy is just too bad that he had those engine gremlins early in the race, because man, he is flying on the outside too.
No, and we had mentioned for him that 16 laps down. Well, we're 22 to go now, John. So he's running out of time. He needs something to happen now if he wants to get some more spots. And, you know, I definitely don't want it. But at the way this race is going, I mean, the top three, really the closest. If we were going to get a caution flag, it's seeming like it would come from these guys. Crisco finally gets to the outside of Bolts. Going to complete the pass. Man, he got close to the outside wall, but stayed in it. Good pass there for Crisco.
Yeah, for any of these guys to probably get up there, I mean, I love the fact I can make a nice movie reference to all my favorite movies here, but I'm going to go with one. These guys are going to have to find ludicrous speed to catch, I think, those front three if we don't get a caution. Nice little Spaceballs reference there. I don't know, you're probably too young for that, but what a great movie.
I know the movie, but yes, definitely the reference went over my head. I don't know it like that.
You got to watch the movie, Zach. You'll appreciate it. That's a great movie.
Wolford working to the inside. He tried to complete this pass last lap, couldn't get it done. I told you, Andy Thomas, he's going to hold on to this top 15, man. Not going to make it easy. He's looked good up top. As we go back to the battle for the front here, Dwayne MacArthur peeking on the bottom. We've got a side-by-side battle as we enter 3.
Yeah, I've been watching this battle. MacArthur's been all over Robinson like a cheap suit here, and he's now to the inside. And man, when you guys get battle, here comes the 11 to make it a 3-car race. And Zach, we talked about this earlier. When somebody goes up and makes a move, when cars are close together like this, if that move doesn't work out, they may lose a spot. You see Ogle looking to the outside now of the 83 of MacArthur.
Yeah, I think MacArthur kind of bluffed Ogle into lifting there. He didn't.
Yeah, I think he did too. I saw that.
He acted like he was going to shut the door. He definitely left the lane open, but he put Tom in kind of that spot. Do I go for it or do I lift? And 19 to go, a little early, maybe 10 to go. Tom keeps it in there, but I think even then, so he knows the pay window. And while it's open, you got to finish there. So Tom is a smart racer. Got a couple wins this season. Really, all the drivers in the top 3 do. So now, you know, maybe we see the aggression turn up a little bit as Watkins completes the pass there on Daryl Weininger. He's got another one not too far up the road in Sean Foltz, but Fred Wolford back to the bottom here. Can he move into the top 15? Oh, this is as far as he's been. He goes up, he shuts the door. Wolford took him 4 laps, but he gets it done, and now Mark Fish trying to follow suit in the Dude Wipes machine. Fish is even coming out of 4. He's got it at the line, and you think here he's going to be able to get the pass done. He shuts the door. Mark Fish up to 16th.
Yeah, and these guys better get this sorted out because, you know, they're coming out of turn 2. Well, guess what? The leaders are halfway between 1 and 2. Just like that. So they don't want to be doing this in front of the leaders, you know, on the last 5 laps. So they better get on with it. We might see a replay of what went on in Indy where those guys were out in front there kind of holding up the leaders a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking Tom Ogle might want that to happen. You know, those front two mixing it up a little bit with some lap cars. He's just sitting there. He's clearly, I mean, he's got some pace. He almost went for the big run upstairs, but he's just making himself known. He's there. He's close enough to strike. But Josh Robinson, man, I mentioned last week he lost the nail biter to that 83 behind him. So that's got to be in the back of his skull here. He does not want to lose another one to Dwayne in close fashion.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to these guys in post-race here that we'll get a chance to, because, you know, from what I'm seeing, you know, early on in a run, passes can happen and stuff like that, but the more wear you get into the tires, the momentum to complete passes really seems harder to come by and to set guys up here, because I'm watching runs just kind of peter out when they've got good runs on guys, but just not getting to the end to be able to complete them.
You know, John, as well as I do, it's all about when you catch those lap cars. It kind of hurt Tom Ogle there coming off the corner, and it hurt Josh Robinson in corner entry, but it really helped Dwayne MacArthur. He closed in the gap a little bit, as close as he's been the last couple of laps. And, you know, if you're Dwayne, I think you look up in that rearview mirror, John, you see a big gap to you in that 11. Now is one of the times to make a move.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of breathing room, not much. Ogle seems to be rolling back in, slowly catching him back up here after that lap car. And so, yeah, he's got a little time to try to do this, but you don't want to do it too early and you know, push everything and really use your stuff up and then get past, you know, 1 or 2 to go here. And next time around, we are definitely that, I would say at that point, pay window is open. You got to go.
And, you know, I mean, we come to a couple of tracks with tri-oval, but I love that for the finish. I mean, if they're side by side, we may see some beating and banging coming to the line here, John, as MacArthur. Oh, I thought he was going to try to take the peak up high, but Josh shut the door. He was right there.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are taking notes. You know, you figure out, okay, I'm better than him here. He's better than me here. I mean, all these things go into that little computer that's, you know, between your ears, and you got to put all that stuff input all that stuff and use it all at the right time. MacArthur in 3 and 4, by the way, looks like he gets your 3 and 4 a lot better than what Robinson does.
Yeah, which is important because you need that run to be able to try to set up the pass to the tri-oval.
Finish line. Yeah, I mean, it looks like Robinson's a little better down here in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4. The 83 really looks to be locked in.
Yeah, I feel like Josh is gaining so much on the entry to 1 that it makes up for MacArthur being a little quicker coming off at 2. But Dwayne's there. I mean, he is pulled even there side by side at the line. Give it to Josh. But with 9 to go, your guess is as good as mine who's going to bring this one home.
Yeah, that momentum's helping Josh hold that position on top. But, you know, MacArthur, you know, you only want to try that 1 or 2 more times and then hold it for a little bit, maybe try it 1 more time with maybe 1 or 2 to go. You know, every time he does that, it puts a lot of heat in that tire, and it's probably going to take a lap or so to get it back down to where you can do something again.
8 laps to go here, still a little bit of time, but man, not a lot, about 4 minutes here if we stay green, John. So, you know, I mean, you can maybe afford 1 little slip up, but if you're Dwayne, you don't want it to be you. You need it to be Josh there as Watkins battling on the outside. You see Sean Colts taking a peek on the inside. The bazooka machine trying to roll the top shelf. Sean trying to pick up the throttle and exit, but just gets a little loose as you see Watkins gets into the outside.
Ogle's to the outside of MacArthur.
Oh, battle on for the lead, but or for P2, excuse me, P2. Now this is exactly what Josh wants to see there. Oh man,
yeah, it is.
What a run there by MacArthur, able to hold it off on the bottom. I thought he was done for, to be honest with you. I thought Tom was making the move, but Dwayne really still has this bottom rolling.
Yeah, especially in 3 and 4. MacArthur is the stronger of the 3 cars over there, and then the 11 and 23 are definitely stronger than he is down on 1 and 2.
But I wonder if that has to do with the shifting, John. You mentioned he was shifting in 3 and 4, right?
Well, but you look at the lines. Those guys are up top where MacArthur's on the bottom in 1 and 2. And where those guys the advantage really comes from is down that backstretch. You know, you watch Robinson kind of just pull him all the way down the backstretch. I'm kind of curious if MacArthur goes high in 1 and 2, runs in the 23's footsteps, and then 3 and 4 try to make that move. He must have heard me. He went up the track.
Yes, he did. He's going to arc down a little bit, try to get a run off, and I'll tell you.
But he's there now. That's as close as he's been.
Yeah, and with the way he's been driving 3 and 4, we're catching a lap car at a weird time here, John. Oh,
yep, that took his. Nice. Yep, that took MacArthur's option away. But now MacArthur's got to duplicate what he did in 1 and 2. He's got to duplicate it this time because he should be clear to be able to try that move again in 3 and 4.
4 laps to go here.
Yep, there he is.
Back up the top. Yep, gonna diamond it here. Can he get the run? If he gets a run, he's got to send it in on the bottom into 3. Clear road up ahead, no lap cars. Gonna back up the corner, try to pick up that throttle on the bottom. It rotates so well for him.
Oh, these laps are winding down too.
Yes, they are. It is a 3-car race. It is 10 seconds back to P4 Scott Negus. So, I mean, these are your 3 horses, barring a caution here, making it a green-white checkered. But if you're MacArthur, man, I know it's so easy to sit up here and say you got to go, John. But you do. You got that gap behind you. You're not going to pay for it. Got to try to push here. We're running out of time. 2 to go.
Oh, he's pushing all right. And, yeah, he is running out of time there to get a little bit more here. He needs he just needs a little something more in 1 and 2. Oh, he's got a really nice run coming up out of the corner here on 3 and 4. And Ogle gets into the wall, so he's got all kinds of room to take a shot.
Yes, he did. He was really trying to get that run off of 2, got to the outside wall, but we're coming out of 4. We got the white flag in the air, John. 1 lap to go. Dwayne is right there. Can Josh Robinson hold on?
You know, I don't think that MacArthur has quite the advantage he did over in 3 and 4. I don't know if Josh has just found another gear over there, or if the tires are starting to kind of go south on the 83 car.
Dwayne trying to run the top through 1 and 2. He got that big run coming down the backstretch. He's right there. Josh going to leave him away. They're side by side through 3 and 4. Dwayne MacArthur has it by a fender. He clears it. Coming to the line. Dwayne MacArthur steals it through 3 and 4. Sean.
Wow.
Oh, back-to-back weeks. Robinson gets edged at the line by MacArthur. Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you, you know as well as I do, John, we both thought that race was it was over going into 3. I'm honest. We've got to hype it up. But I thought that race was over going into 3. Where did Dwayne come from?
Well, you know, the thing is, 23 of Robinson took a different line through there. He turned down early to try to take the line away from the 83. And I'll be honest with you, I wonder, and I can't wait to talk to him, if that didn't mess his timing up just a little bit, enough to break that momentum and really give MacArthur a shot at, well, not the shot, but, you know, allowed him to make the move for the win. So we'll definitely ask him that when we get to talk to him.
Dwayne MacArthur doing a burnout for the 4th time this season. Your point leader gets it done again. We're going to step away on the Virtual Grip Network for a couple minutes, throw you up the sponsor videos, let the drivers maybe catch their breath here, get a drink. We're going to interview the top 3 and give you a rundown of your race. Stick around. We'll be back with more. We are back live on the Virtual Grip Network, and we just saw a finish for the ages here in the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. Dwayne MacArthur, what a showstopper, going back-to-back here, stealing it over Josh Robinson. As we'll pull up the full list here so we can give you your rundown. You heard the top two. Tom Ogle, he was there. He had the best view in the house, man. Brought home P3. Oh, so close, but just couldn't get to the lead. Scott Negus, good comeback for him. He's not going to want to hear it, but after the pit road mistake to get back to fourth, it's a good run for Scott. Way to shake it off. Crisco coming home in the top five. Robert Borisco coming home fifth. Sean Foltz sixth. After the early contact, good comeback for him. And Matt Watkins, the new guy on the block, coming home with a top 10 P7. Jerry Isaacs 8th, Andrew Medlin 9th, and Daryl Weininger rounding out the top 10.
Coming home 11th, and even though it might not be much of a consolation for him because he did set the quickest time of the race, had the fastest lap, coming home 11th is going to be Chris Bates. After that will be Victor Lane, then Luke Lane, Brian Lynch in 14th, Fred Wolford the third in 15th. Our Daytona winner, Mark Fish, is going to come home 16th. Tom Massey, who we watched kind of stalk the leaders for the last, 30 laps of this race, 30 laps of this race. He's going to come home 17th. Andy Thomas, 18th. Alan Wanamaker, 19th. Nicholas Self will round out your top 20.
Martin coming home in the blackjack position. Larry Corey, 22nd. Lloyd Moore, 23rd. After the good run in the disconnect, that's a really tough break for Lloyd Moore, but awesome that he could get back in. Still scored 23rd. 24th for Lonnie Corey. 25th, Brian Lindsay. 26th, John Hastings. Courtney Nelson, 27th. And rounding out the field after the early contact, James Hislop. Now, it is time to interview our top three drivers. I'm going to get a word with our third place finisher here, Tom Ogle. And it looks like I got him up here. Sorry, Ryan, my Discord sounds aren't working. Tommy, what's going on, man? Shaggy in the booth, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you. How are you?
Man, pretty good. But once again, Tom, you showed why you're a guy to keep an eye out on. I mean, you had pace. You were right there with those guys, and you had the best seat in the house for that finish, man. What's going through your head?
I kept thinking like I would have a run on them, but I was trying to save a little bit for the end, but every time I would try to go hard, I would pick up a push. The car was tight and we were burning the right front, and I would pick up a push. I thought I had a shot. I got next to Dwayne one time, but then I picked up a push. Just every time I thought I had a run, I would just pick up the push.
Now, were you surprised? Obviously, I know you can't necessarily pay attention to it like we can, Tom, but when you guys did that little bit of short pit, I believe you pit 3 laps before Josh and Daryl 2 laps before Josh. Were you kind of shocked when you saw him creep up? Because I don't know if you knew this. You guys had about a 2.5, 3 second gap on him when he came off the pit road.
We weren't. I don't think Dwayne and I were running that hard because I didn't want to burn my stuff up when he did catch us, with those 4-lap newer tires. And the reason I short pitted is I was out of fuel. I had to pit. I had going down the backstretch, I showed 1.4 laps left. And I could not do the math to figure out if I was 0.5 or 0.4 into that lap. So I had to pit. I didn't have any choice but to pit.
Now, it seemed like you're fairly even out there, but a little insider. I noticed Dwayne, or John did, I'll give him the credit. Dwayne was downshifting into 4th through 3 and 4. Was that something you did sometimes or thought about?
I never did. 2 reasons. 1, I wouldn't have made it on fuel downshifting. And 2, I didn't do it in practice, and I didn't figure that was the time to give it a try. Because even in the car, it sounded like guys were downshifting, but they weren't. You know what I mean? I asked Josh at one point in our chat, I said, "Are you downshifting?" He has said no. So that could have, I didn't want to try it. And then, it's too high RPMs, it spins the car out.
Yeah, and like you say, if you don't practice it, I mean, it's like golf. You don't change up your swing on the golf course. You do it on the range.
Right, exactly.
Out there in race time.
I didn't figure on old tires with 10 to go was the time to try shifting for the first time all night.
I don't blame you for that one. And Tom, your strategy's been working pretty good this year. I mean, you got a couple wins clicked off, another podium here, man. So after the week hiatus, you're right back in the booth where you belong. Heck of a run, Tom. Who do you want to thank, brother?
I want to thank Victor for putting the league on, all the sponsors of the league, YesterYear Racing, and my teammates Josh, Brian Lynch, Andrew Medlin, and Mark Fish, who's everybody's teammate. But yeah, Josh just did an amazing job running the top. He just caught a push at last lap, but it was great racing. That's probably the most fun and some of the tightest racing I've done.
Man, it was fun to watch up here. You guys side by side for the majority of the race, Tom. You put on a show, man. You deserved a much-needed break here. So go put on the NASCAR race, man. Settle down.
I will.
And,
you guys have a good night. You guys have a great night.
That's Tom Ogle, your P3 finisher. John, you got the man who came home P2 and a great finish. Who you got?
I got Josh Robinson here, and Josh, first thing I'm going to ask is, okay, last lap, you're approaching turn 3. Do you do anything different?
I was going to go low because that's where I knew Dwayne was getting his run. He was so good in specifically the entry to turn 3, and he was able to carry that speed all the way through the corner. And I went down to I didn't really want to do a block. I just wanted to take the air off the front of his nose. And when I went down there, he was already there, in my opinion. And I didn't want to block. I just wanted to take the air off of his nose. But I felt it was getting to be a little bit too close to a block, and so I didn't go down all the way. And that, you can run the high line, you can run the bottom line. That middle line is no man's land, and I put myself right in it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I noticed. I was trying to figure out if that's where he intended to go, or because he was definitely fully committed to sending it in on the bottom. Do you think if you would have stayed and doing what you had been doing up on that top line, because the one thing is, yeah, he was carrying a lot of speed down into the corner and especially through the center, but you were gaining that time back on corner exit. I mean, I know it's easy to, quarterback it, with perfect hindsight, but could that top have prevailed?
Maybe. I know he was going to go in harder. I didn't have too much harder to go up top. I should have just committed to the high line though, and maybe went in just a hair. It probably burped the throttle just a bit, and then get back on the gas a little bit sooner, so I wasn't taking down the wall, which was getting really, really close every lap. But I should have just committed to the high line. Like I said, I wanted to go down and take the air off of his nose, because when we were getting to lap traffic, I would get about half a second behind him, and it would change my corner entry. And I was hoping to do that to him and maybe make him wash up a little bit, and then if he washes up in the middle of 3 and 4, he's going to have to get completely out of it. But no, that was a good race. Those guys took shifts on me, and I was spent about 15 laps before the end of that race, so I'm okay with a second.
Yeah, well, the one thing that surprised me is when the last pit stop, you went a couple laps longer than those guys, but man, it killed you. The time they were able to make up there, and you came out of the pits, I think, maybe almost 3 seconds behind them. You ran them back down, but did you spend a lot of capital in your tires running them back down? Would that have been useful to have those last 15?
I definitely did. I came out a little bit further back than I had hoped. I got into the pits a little too calm, thinking it was going to be a little bit more sketchy on pit entrance, and it just wowed down with ease. So I lost probably half a second there, and that's a couple laps on the track sooner that I could have gotten to them. And if I could have gotten to them a couple laps sooner, I think I just stay on the bottom, and it's a completely different race at that point.
Well, not second guessing you, because you did a whole lot better than I could have done in a million years and a million tries. So, but man, I tell you what, you made it really entertaining there, especially that last lap. I'd have been at the edge of my seat if not standing there. So I tell you, thank you for putting on a great show. And who would you like to give a shout out to before I let you go here?
Shout out to the league for, we had the 30 car field and we only had 2 early cautions, and I think one of them was actually a mechanical failure. So that's 160 laps at a tough track with a tight setup. That's pretty good. Thanks to you guys for putting on a quality broadcast as always. Thanks for Victor and all the work that he does with the admins, and thanks to all the admins for the work they do throughout the week.
Well, thank you, Josh, and we hope to see you next week and see if you can continue that quest to repeat as the champion here.
Yeah, we'll see you guys at Nashville. Have a good night.
That's Josh Robinson, our second place finisher, and Zach, I think you've caught up with the race winner.
Dwayne MacArthur, long time no speak, my man. How we feeling after edging Josh Robinson out in another close one, man? Back-to-back weeks, dude. You got to be on cloud 9.
Hey fellas, yeah, I'm having a great time. How was the show? I hope it was good.
Well, I want the truth from you here, Dwayne, because I'm an honest man. When, I got to try to make this thing sound interesting. Going down the backstretch, I thought you were toast, dude. I didn't think you stood a chance, and you know what? Did you think you had a shot with that last move effort there through 3 and 4?
Yeah, I thought I had a shot. I tried it a couple of times in the previous 20 laps, and I think the one time I got to the line for him, and the other time he beat me. I wasn't sure if he was going to take the bottom, but I thought if I drove it in there, I'd at least have a 50-50. And honestly, I think he picked up a little bit of a push and helped me out a little bit because I didn't think I would clear him. That's for sure.
Yeah, it kind of, and Dwayne, this isn't, you being big-headed or anything, but I mean, dude, you've been the dog so far. I mean, you're the point leader, and when you start creeping up in that mirror, that might be the difference. I mean, it looked like Josh just kind of caught in no man's land in 3, didn't really shut the door on you, but didn't go up top for that momentum like he had previous.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is the guy that's usually in your mirror catching you late in the run, putting the fear of God in you. So, I mean, he's got that title. I think running that high line, he was using up a little more tire than I was. I know that we were talking about what we had left for tires. I was building a pretty big advantage with that line I was running. And really, we were so close. I knew I needed to save as much as I could and stay as close as I could to take a shot. I didn't think any of the 3 of us could clear each other, and that was probably going to be a run to the line unless somebody had a big mistake. And I followed Josh and Tom around, probably 100,000 laps in this league, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. So I was just hoping to get one shot at it and see how it went, and really happy it went green so it could play out because that was a lot of fun. That was probably one of the most fun races I've had in maybe ever.
Yeah, now we talked to Tom, and he said he almost ran that thing empty. He pit when he had to pit. Did you come down just because you saw Tom come down, didn't want to lose track time, or did you kind of pit when you had to?
No, I had a lap and a half of fuel. I couldn't go any further. I think I could have went one more lap. I was happy to follow Tom and come in after and make Josh have to run us down a little. Josh almost always pits after us. I think he went a couple laps after us as usual. He's always coming late with tires because he saves tires so good, and then usually runs, pits after all of us. So I just figured we'd all kind of even out because it was such a long run, like almost 70 laps. So I thought by the end of it, it wouldn't matter who did what, and we'd see what we had at the end. So
now, before I let you do your thank yous, Dwayne, and get the heck on out of here, I got to pick your brain, man. Clearly it worked. You won the race. You're the only one out of you, Josh, and Tom that was downshifted in 3 and 4. Now, what does that do to the car? Why do we like the downshift?
Yeah, it was probably about 20 laps into the run. Because I was running so tight on the bottom, I think I was running lower than everybody else. I typically do run a lot lower than everybody else in 3 and 4 on 1.5 miles. After about 20 laps, the car, I could hear the RPMs just kind of go about 100 RPM lower or 200 RPM lower, and I didn't like the pull it had. So I was really just doing it for the drive off. I had to change and adjust quite a bit to be able to do it. It didn't make entry easier, but I felt that it made center off. Just have that little bit of pickup. And guys couldn't pull me coming out of the corner. So I was doing it just in 3 and 4. kind of later in the run. And anytime somebody wasn't breathing down my neck, I tried not to do it because it was a lot easier just to drive in fifth. But for probably the last 50 laps, I had no choice because Ogo was right there. So
the proof's in the pudding, as they say. I mean, you were getting that drive off of 4, and that's what won you the race. So big time move there, Dwayne. Way to adjust on the fly and really get the most out of your car, man. You earned this one. Congratulations. Win number 4, dude. You're the points leader all by yourself. Who you want to thank?
yeah, just a big shout out to everybody here that was on the track. First of all, I mean, that was a longer race than normal. What do we have? I think 1 caution, right? Long green flag runs. Lots of great racing out there. I'm gonna give a shout out. I mean, Tom and Josh are kind of my rivals over there at Team Miata, and but I mean, those 2 guys put on a hell of a race. That was so much fun to be able to race as hard as we were racing. I'm not sure how it looked, but we were racing so hard, so close for so long. So a shout out to them, everybody on the track, all the admins, Victor Lane for running this league, and a shout out to our sponsor, YesterYear Racing, and our newest sponsor. I'm not sure if we've had a chance, but we have a new league sponsor, Zero Shoes. Pretty cool. Check out, I think it's Zero Shoes, Zero Sim Racing, ZeroShoes.com. Anyways, check them out. They make a sim racing shoe. They just jumped on board with us, and a shout out to you guys for your broadcast. I'm sure I'll enjoy watching it back tomorrow or later tonight.
Well, I mean, you know, you may not enjoy a lot of it, but you're going to enjoy that last lap because you came out of nowhere, Dwayne. That was a heck of a way to complete this 240 miles, man. Great show, and can't wait to talk to you again, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Just happy to go out there with these guys and race the right way and come home with a win racing the right way. So thank you very much.
He does exactly that, man. 4 wins this season for Dwayne MacArthur. Absolutely huge. And John, I'm telling you, man, it's turning into a cliche at this point. But this is ridiculous. I mean, I think he said 1 caution. I believe we had 2, but we heard their mechanical failure on the 1, and that kind of makes sense, I think, for Sean Foltz, the way he kind of slowed down in the center of the corner. That's the one I'm going to pinpoint. So, you know, you can't really... Or Courtney Nelson, excuse me, yes. Courtney Nelson, not Sean Foltz. Similar car colors. Thank you for that in the ear, Ryan. He gets the credit for that. But John, man, before we take a look up at what's next, I mean, can they get better than this?
You know, we say that an awful lot here with these guys, and then they basically pull a hold my beer and seem to always outdo themselves. So, what a lot of fun. You know what? Good news is I do believe we get to come back here at some point. I don't know. I can't remember if it's going to be on the oval or if we get another shot at if it's going to be on the Roval or if we get a shot on the oval here again. But this track's a lot of fun, and there's a few more like this on the schedule that we get to watch these guys on.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's take a look here at what's coming up next on the Virtual Grip Network tomorrow night. Maximum Velocity Race Series is at the New Hampshire Speedway, and John, I'm going to try to do it, but I'm going to need to pull them belts a little bit tighter tomorrow. I think it could get wild in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's an interesting track, and that's one where guys are going to have to be really careful getting into those corners because people are going to be different agendas. Some guys are going to back them up. Some guys are going to drive them in deep. So keep your head on a swivel. That's what would be my advice to be for tomorrow night.
Next Sunday, June 1st, we're back at it here with the YesterYear Racing Cup Series at the Nashville Super Speedway. Now, John, we've been there for a couple years now, but, you know, Nashville, this is a newer one. Do we like it on the calendar? Do we not like it? How do we feel?
No, I really like this track. I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw here today. I think this is going to be a track. First of all, it's a concrete surface, so it's going to be a completely different surface. I think the only other full concrete track we go to anymore is going to be at Dover, which Dover can put on a really good show. You know, cars can run all over that place. So next week, I think it's going to be pretty cool. I think it's a driver's track, and I expect the cream to rise to the top at that track for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, it has been an amazing night here on the Virtual Grip Network. And if you're just tuning in right now, spoiler alert, race of the year so far. So make sure you rewind it, go check out that finish. It was absolutely amazing. John and I were treated here to a good one. But on behalf of everyone at the Virtual Grip Network, my partner John Hine, the dude in the back, we'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. Have a good night.